So the new Kicker Keyloc, what is it? It is awesome. Why do you need it? Well, you need it because you really like your car, but your audio system, not so much. You want it to sound better. But you've got to keep that factory radio for all the controls that it offers to the rest of the vehicle. That's where the Kicker Keyloc comes in. It's going to restore that audio signal back to the way the recording engineers recorded it. It's going to restore the bass response, the clarity, and the equalization so you can add any aftermarket equipment to make it sound better. You can add speakers, subwoofers, amplifiers, whatever your heart desires. That's why you need the new Kicker Keyloc. Go out, pick up one of the Kicker Keylocs, and watch the rest of this video on how to set it up and tune it. One of the cool things that you can use the Keyloc for is to evaluate the frequencies that are present on the input to the Keyloc. We call this auto frequency detect. It basically works like a 3-band RTA. The first LED will indicate low frequencies from 20 to 200 Hertz. The middle LED, as you saw just come on, will detect frequencies from 200 to 2 kilohertz. And the third LED, or the high frequency indicator, will indicate frequencies from 2 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz. So what we'll want to do is we'll want to turn on our source unit with all the tone controls set flat and the listening position centered if you have those type of adjustments. Play pink noise at a moderate volume level, about mid-volume level. Then we'll begin to turn the input level of the Keyloc up until we see the LEDs begin to illuminate. So if you notice, the mid and high frequency LEDs illuminated, which is telling me that I have a mid and high frequency output. I've got less low frequencies in the signal. As I continue to turn the input level up, you notice I had to turn it quite a ways before the low LED showed frequency. That means I've got an unacceptable signal for using for a subwoofer. It only has a mid and high frequency output. Therefore, I would want to look for a different source of input if I was going to connect a subwoofer or if I was looking for a full range output. Now let's test another signal. Begin turning the input up. Now you notice the low and the mid LED illuminated. That means I have a low pass crossover on this output. Therefore, this signal is not going to be acceptable for a full range output, such as the output to a set of door speakers. It's only going to be acceptable for mid-bass or for a subwoofer. I can continue to turn the input up even further. Eventually, that high frequency LED comes on, which means I do have some high frequencies, just not nearly as much as I do the low and the mid frequencies. Let's test a third signal input. Begin turning the level input up on the Keyloc. And if you notice, all 3 LEDs came on at approximately the same time. This means I have a full range signal and it is useful for any type of output I'm looking for. This is the signal I'm going to want to use for a full range output. So now we want to do gain match with the Keyloc. I'm going to download the gain match track from the support tab at kicker.com. I'm going to play it in the source unit at approximately 3/4 volume level. This is going to be the maximum unclipped output from our source unit, and this is where we're going to set the input gain on the Keyloc. This is the most important step. You must make sure you do not clip the input on the Keyloc or your results will not be satisfactory. To put the Keyloc into gain match mode, I'm going to push and hold the key button on the right side of the Keyloc and hold it until you see the LEDs scroll to the right, and then they'll scroll to the left. Let up on the key button and you'll see the first LED is illuminated. That means I'm now in gain match mode. With that source unit turned up to approximately 3/4 volume, I'm going to start turning up the level of the input until I see LEDs 3 and 4 illuminate. This means I have clipping on the left channel and the right channel, and I need to turn the input source down. Turning this slowly, you notice the LEDs will shut off. This means I'm no longer clipping the inputs to the left or right channels. We'll want to let this sit for about 10 seconds to make sure as that sweep goes higher and lower in frequency, it does not clip either the left or the right inputs. Now that we have the input level properly matched to the source unit, we're going to begin the setup process. Play the noise floor track on your source unit with the volume still remaining at 3/4 output. Make sure the noise floor track is playing before you begin the next process. You will simply press the key button one time and you'll notice the number 1 LED will begin to flash. That tells me it's detecting the noise floor in your system. Once the LED 2 begins to flash, now you're ready for the next step. Immediately press the next track, which is going to be full test. You'll see the LED 2 come on solid, and then you'll wait for anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes for it to do its evaluation. The LED 2, 3, and 4 will light up sequentially to tell you as it's finished each of the processes. Now it's calculating and correcting the frequency response. It's now done. By pressing the key button one more time, we exit the setup mode, and if you notice, all 4 LEDs are lit. The right LED, number 4, is telling me that the processing is turned on. The other 3 LEDs, the low, mid, and high frequency indicators, are telling me we have a complete usable full range signal. If we want to hear the difference between the corrected and uncorrected signal, we can simply press the key button on and off to hear the difference. Now that you have the Keyloc installed and tuned correctly, all that's left to do is go out and listen to your music. If you haven't picked one up yet, now you know why you need one, because if you're going to keep that factory radio and upgrade the rest of the audio system, you have to have the Kicker Keyloc to restore that signal.